When the wind blows cold on the shores of Lake Erie, the Queen City moans her sad, lonely song. Her streets are empty, but for handfuls of scattered souls, scurrying to escape the chill. Most are gathered at the warm watering holes that garnish every street corner, offering respite for the weary. The air hangs thick and is warmed by the hot takes that resound from the wooden walls. We find ourselves on the doorstep of such a place, with the champions of mediocrity about to set off on another long-winded journey. The windows are already beginning to fog with the balmy bloviations. As the door creaks open, a rush of warm air ushers the velvet voices of the 716 Sports Podcast.
Welp. That didn't go so well, did it?
No, that was pretty rough.
The most honest intro of all time.
Congratulations to the Maryland Terrapins, 47-3 over the Buffalo Bulls. Who would have seen that coming?
No one beats Maryland twice in a row. Not even Tom Herman.
You don't go there. You don't go to the cauldron of Maryland. Yeah. So, Jeff.
Yeah.
What was your prediction last week?
Well, when we did the first predictions, I believe I was the only person out of the four of us on the show who said the Bills were going to go and win at Baltimore, 17-13 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I said they would win. Also,
you changed your mind after the fact, but yes, you did eventually come around to the dark side, I guess, and decide that the Bills were going to win that game. And
I said,
boy, howdy, did I misread the room.
I said that Sean McDermott's got these guys in a good mental spot, and they're going to scrap this one out. And they didn't.
There was a lot said this week by the coaching staff about the mental toughness and fortitude of Nathan Peterman. I think mental toughness is a wonderful quality to have in a quarterback. It is better in a quarterback who can accurately throw the football to players wearing the same colored jersey. Like, it's great that Aaron Rodgers has mental fortitude because it means he goes back in that game on Sunday night and drags one leg behind him as he leads the team kicking and screaming to a win. Mental toughness doesn't matter for Nathan Peterman because there's no talent at all to back it up that we've seen so far on the football field. The Bills have no quarterback on the roster who has been able to successfully finish an NFL game, and he's tried twice.
3 times.
Mm-hmm.
3 times.
Hurt in the snow game.
Oh, God, that's right.
Joe Webb got the win. So, what was your favorite Nathan Peterman completion?
Can I flip a
You don't
coin
have many
quick?
to choose from.
There's 5 of them. They combined for 24 yards. He had a 0.0 passer rating. That's hard.
The better question is, what was your favorite Nathan Peterman incompletion, Bill?
I think with the one that we were discussing off air.
The first down swing pass to McCoy where he gets bumped off by the linebacker,
McCoy
but still gets thrown to an open space.
Peterman just threw it to you could draw like a 20-yard box around this ball, go 5 yards in
Intentional
either
grounding
direction,
is a construct,
and there's nothing there. There's just nothing there.
I like the one when he aired it over a 6'5" receiver, like way over his head.
like 15 yards over to a guy who was tying his shoes at the midfield stripe.
Yeah.
Well,
Lands in the hands of Will Hill.
Well, that was a classic. That's a Jarius Bird interception right there.
Oh, for sure.
Birdman used to live off those. I remember Jake Delhomme did one of those one time in Carolina, and everybody's like, "Boy, Jarius Bird's good." I'm like, "Yeah."
He was 15 yards away from the receivers.
He had no idea.
All right.
He had no idea what was happening. It was self-preservation. He didn't expect the ball to come to him.
He's a ball hawk.
He's a ball hawk. It's right there.
Ball just finds him. He's got magnets in his gloves.
So, is there? Let's just go position by position. We'll start at quarterback.
Yeah.
I think Nathan Peterman's going to be your starter until Week 5 against Tennessee.
Think so?
Yes, and I don't think it matters, and I literally don't think they care. They just don't want Josh Allen to die against these 4 defenses to start the season.
I think what the Jets are doing right now with Sam Darnold might soften up the Bills coaching staff and say, just put in Allen.
100%. Now, I could see it going either way. I do think that Peterman will start again this week, but I bet you someone asks McDermott on Tuesday or Wednesday, about the performance of Darnold, and he's going to give a canned answer like, we really don't have the time to watch the film of other teams that we're not playing. We'll review Sam and all that when we get first game against the Jets back in week 8. I still have to review the tape of Nathan Peterman's performance on Sunday to see how he actually did, because I was the only person in the entire world who didn't see the absolute dumpster fire behind our offensive line.
There's only so much tape to be reviewed.
No, it's not just about the tape. It's about the things that aren't on the tape, the intangibles. It's that toughness that Nate has and what he brings to the huddle, which is why he's our starting quarterback for week number 2.
So there wasn't O-line playing, you're saying?
I mean,
well,
that was not the worst they've looked. Now, I realize that's not a compliment, essentially, but they didn't get completely bowled over that entire game. It wasn't the Cincinnati game.
It was... Oh, well...
It was okay.
This one counted, though, so that's kind of a bummer. Wait, what? I mean, if that's the best we can do, then okay. I suppose that there weren't as many sacks given up.
And some of the sacks were honestly just coverage sacks.
6 sacks.
6 sacks, but it was over the whole game that they had their starters in. So I suppose that's improvement over the Cincinnati game where they only had half it. Let's go to, we're going to go to Joe Biscaglia. Is he a friend of the pod? I can't remember.
No.
Someday. He was a tweeting machine here this afternoon. Let's shall we pick out some of the highlights from Sean McDermott's?
Yeah. Let's delve into this.
So we'll talk right about the offensive line. This is from Sean McDermott. I thought there were times in pass blocking where they provided enough time, and there were times they didn't. That sounds to me like the quarterbacking was struggling, but he also was not impressed with the performance. Nathan Peterman, quote, I thought he made some good decisions and some decisions he would like to have back, end quote.
It's like my kindergarten teacher talking to my mom about my behavior throwing crayons at my classmates or something. Jeff would like to make some better decisions the next time.
Sean McDermott on the QB play versus the Ravens, quote, I thought there were times we were on target and sometimes that we weren't. Okay.
Is this just a Mad Lib where they say, Sean, the position is quarterback?
No.
Noun.
Sean McDermott, the path to success is never a clean one. Okay. Sean McDermott on Kelvin Benjamin. I don't question the effort. As I said before, I don't question the effort of anyone on the field. Let's talk about Kelvin Benjamin for a minute. Did we get a damaged good in Kelvin Benjamin? Is he a competent NFL NFL wide receiver at this point? Signs are pointing towards not as much as I thought.
Kelvin Benjamin is a viable NFL receiver, but I do not believe he is a viable number 1 receiver.
And the whole point of that is when you're the number 1 guy on a team, you get matched up against the other team's number 1 cornerback. Very basic thoughts, right?
Yes.
If he's going to get shut down like he did, and granted, throwing was not great to him, he's got to come down with more. He has to.
That slant, the interception,
right.
He shouldn't lose that battle against a 6'1" quarter ever.
Yeah, Brandon Carr he's not a small guy, but certainly not up to the stature and physique, if you want to call it the physique of Kelvin Benjamin.
You're 6'5", 240. You got to win that battle against a 6'1" corner. You cannot get muscled
off that angle. That is your route.
I don't think he even got out of muscle. I just think he just
didn't take a good angle.
Shit.
Yeah.
And you could tell he was totally disinterested.
And he had the touchdown from Allen late in the game. You got to catch that. Give yourself something to go home with.
Media at the game was saying that receivers weren't even trying to get open when routes were over. They were just like, they did a whole team was disinterested. I mean, I didn't see any film, but I'm just going off what I saw on
Twitter.
Twitter.
Going to go on the All 22 tomorrow and check it out. Got to watch the tape, man.
Break it down.
That's our motto here. We watch the tape. We love it.
And we thoroughly edit the audio of this podcast.
And therefore, yeah, you get the raw opinion.
It's like you're in the room with us.
That was a play in the end zone. Perfect pass by Josh Allen. Just
Yeah. So Zay Jones was fine, I guess.
First game back, fully healthy.
He played 96% of the snaps.
Zay Jones did?
You never see that at a receiver.
That's a promising sign, I think. That's a good thing for him.
I think he could have a good season. Comparably to everything.
Well, before everything went to hell, I did think that he was kind of a guy that the season pivoted on, because you thought maybe, well, Kelvin Benjamin is your number 1 guy. You need to have that number 2. And it seemed like he had the potential to break out, but really struggling his rookie year. But he seemed fine yesterday.
Yeah. I think there's something there with him. It's too early to say that he's a lost cause by any means. See, there's a lot of room for him to grow, and he's going to have a lot of chances. I figure this is a team that's going to be spending a decent amount of time this season behind. A lot of time to throw, a lot of routes to run, a lot of time to explore. And if Benjamin's effort is indicative of anything, he's going to get some chances against some better defensive backs, too. Yeah. I mean, even when Benjamin was good, his rookie year in Carolina, he was very much a go run 40 yards, turn around, jump ball. And it worked because he was young and he was healthy, and Cam Newton is a good quarterback. And he did that for 1,000 yards, and then he got hurt, and that's the risk you take. You mentioned did we get damage good with Kelvin Benjamin? That's always the risk of trading for a player that's coming off and recovering from a fairly long-term injury. And he did not return to the field after that injury in the best shape of his career. And he does not appear to have returned, and you listen to his comments in the offseason about Cam, you listen to him talk in general, you watch him run half-hearted routes and get undercut by defensive backs, you wonder what his mental state is and whether he's really giving a shit out there, honestly.
Who's going to lead the team in rushing touches this season? I'm not kidding.
With the O-line, Josh Allen.
It's going to be with touches, yeah, maybe ultimately.
Marcus Murphy.
I think Shady McCoy is cooked. Now, I know that the offensive line is bad. I get that. I thought that you were really pushing it when you talk about a guy near that running back cliff, a cliff that, for whatever reason, does seem to be a legitimate thing, and asking him to be the entire offense is just going to be too much. And I don't think McCoy is going to make it out of the season alive. I really don't.
I feel like he's only here to sell tickets at this point because it doesn't make sense to have him on this team.
Well, who's going to watch it, pay tickets to see a guy run 2 yards into a pile?
It's a name,
I guess.
Fans are naive creatures.
I know. I thought Russ Brandon was gone. I thought we were not being sold this bill of goods anymore.
He's not going to be part of this team when they're good. And it's probably going to be his last year's at Bill, let's be honest.
It seems unlikely that he will be here.
I was saying during the offseason, trade him with a draft.
But I don't even know if you can get anything for him.
Yeah, no one wants the 29 to 30-year-old running back. Everyone wants the next youngest guy.
Right.
Because they're starting to realize that young running backs, the David Johnsons, the Saquon Barkleys of the world are the currency.
Right.
And the veteran running backs are when you need them.
I mean, not comparing the two, but look at a guy like Adrian Peterson yesterday who was available until, 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm. And it's only because of an injury that anyone even gave him a shot.
Right. And I don't expect Adrian Peterson to make it through the season, but he had a very nice performance yesterday.
Yeah, but that's the limit for a guy like that.
Right.
It's that where you get a couple games a year, or it's Frank Gore where you're splitting carries with someone, and if Gore goes down, then they have 3 other guys.
Murphy had 6 touches or 6 rushes, I should say, for 31 yards. McCoy 7 for 22. Allen ran 4 different times for 26 yards. That's not great.
And Borges ran once for 0 yards.
Yeah. And Chris Ivory 3 for 3. The Ivory signing I did not understand it from the beginning. People seem to be sold on it. I don't know why.
It's the same reason that Mike Tolbert had a lot of touches on this team last year. There's that old school mentality. If you need the big old bowling ball to plow through the line, and Ivory's a bigger body. That's all. I think it's all it comes down to. Honestly, they think that they need a guy like that, and that Marcus Murphy or LaShawn McCoy can't be the short yardage back every time. Also, a quick sidebar on the running game. I was driving to my buddy's place for the game on Sunday to the pregame interview with Sean McDermott on the Buffalo Bills radio extravaganza with John Murphy, trademarked.
Brought to you by Rachel's
Mediterranean. And they asked him specifically about the running game, and they went through, asked about McCoy, and they asked about Ivory, they asked about Murphy, and then John Murphy was about to sign off, and the segment's like, well, let's not forget Pat DeMarco. Pat DeMarco is a captain on this team. Pat DeMarco was on the field for 1 snap.
You can
1 snap.
General rule of thumb: go ahead and forget about Pat DeMarco. Pat DeMarco's forgot about Pat DeMarco. Yeah. So, and is it as bad as the offense was yesterday? Isn't the defense more disappointing?
Yeah, because you expect something out of the defense. I think we all thought the offense was hot garbage.
The defense got not much going. Now, chicken or the egg, pass rush makes your secondary better. Secondary allows your pass rush to be more effective. Neither one was effective yesterday. there were blown coverages. There were guys getting beat. There were guys getting out physicaled. It was, again, a disaster.
Thank God
all
for
ways.
Trey White, or this would have been even worse.
They just didn't throw at him.
Yeah, no, it's really easy when you only have to not throw at one side of the defense. It's like, all right, well, we'll just whoever's against gains,
but
get the ball.
But the receivers, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but they did spread it out with guys. Snead had 4, Brown had 3 in the touchdown. Snead also had the touchdown. Crabtree 3 in a touchdown. I mean, whoever, it's nice to have that guy there, but with White, it just seemed like, well, that's the danger of having, not a danger, but having the shutdown cornerback. It is such a mess now on the other side that I don't know what's going on. I mean, Vontae Davis is a healthy scratch. What is going on with that?
Yeah, he looked okay
Because he can't
in the preseason, but now he's hurt and or healthy scratched and
can't contribute on special teams, therefore can't be active. Is that really where we're at with this guy now?
Also, he can't play inside and nickel. Another reasoning, but
so don't
not why
play
he
him at
brought
nickel.
him in.
Don't play him at nickel.
Yeah.
Play him on the outside. At least try. I'm not asking him to, run with John Brown, but so bring help over. I don't know. Like, what are you going to do if
and now Teron Johnson
Vontae Davis is
hurt
a
too.
healthy right? They were so thin yesterday. If he's not out there, I don't know what else to say. What are we going to do with him?
If they're not going to
What's
play
the
him outside,
point?
they might as well just cut him.
Adolphus Washington, by the way, cut
Traded.
today.
Cut.
Cut.
Yeah, they signed
Straight up cut.
Irving, right?
We picked up
Defensive end.
Signed-
Nate Orchard.
Nate Orchard signed to a 1-year deal. 2 guys left from the from the regime after the Adolphus Washington cut. I mean, pretty incredible. And one of them is Shaq Lawson. He seems to be holding on by a thread at this point.
It's very thin.
Lawson yesterday 1 tackle.
Yeah, I mean, he did walk off with a shoulder injury. He didn't exactly play 4 quarters. That doesn't help his case, for the record, just as an aside.
Milano looked pretty okay. Edmonds made a couple nice plays. I think Edmonds feels like he's got something. He forced the
7
fumble.
tackles. They were on the field for that long, and he led the team with 7 tackles.
Well, it's just all spread out. I mean, Poyer, 7 solo, 1 assist.
So 8.
Alexander had
how bad.
6. Bush had 7. Poyer had 8. There was a bunch of guys, but who cares when they're scoring that many touchdowns? There's going to be a lot of plays where you're not even making a tackle. It was so bad. It was absolutely depressing listening to it. And let me tell you something. So we were in Toronto for the weekend driving in, and it is such a public relations cog that John Murphy currently finds himself in. I will give credit to whoever was in the booth for GR for the halftime show. I think it was Nate Geary. Very honest about how terrible they looked. I also think that Mark Kelso was not necessarily buying into, there's a lot of optimism here. There's a lot to gain. John Murphy, good for you that you can find any sort of optimism after that performance. But my God, man, it was rough to watch and to listen to.
Yeah, it just feels like state-run radio to a point. It's like, everything is great, guys. Don't
Right.
look outside. The sky isn't falling.
Right, and that's really what it felt like. Like, come on, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining.
I can appreciate someone being like, all right, guys, I know the game sucked, but there's 15 more. But I also can recognize when someone's just trying to sell me a bill of goods and going too far the other way.
Just be honest about it.
Yeah.
Just that's all we ask. Don't sell us on something that is so obvious. And I think that that's where the frustration that we have when we see, or when we see and when we hear McDermott saying that he's got to look at the tape. What is there to look at? What are you going to glean off of that performance?
It's the same thing you said after the 5 interception game last year, too.
Right. Like, look, I get it that you don't want to destroy a human being's confidence and you want to stay optimistic. This is the Bills' doing. This is self-inflicted at this point. Please stop sending this guy out there and having it be anything other than this team is trying to fail or is so lacking in talent that they can't even compete at a base level with probably 27 or 28 of the other teams. Like, there's maybe 3 or 4 teams talent-wise that the Bills are close to overall on the roster, and they may be below them.
I still think, and I think yesterday even just further exacerbates it, the Bills have the worst group of available receiving options of any team in the NFL, and I don't think it's close.
And this team is like, this is a Ravens team. They missed the playoffs. We all know this. The Bills were the beneficiary of them missing because of a convoluted tiebreaker, but this is a middle of the road team. I don't think anybody is out there currently, even after that performance yesterday, saying that the Ravens look like a Super Bowl contender. Now, if they do it for 3 or 4 weeks in a row, sure. I have my doubts that on Thursday night when they play Cincinnati that they're going to look like that.
Well, that was the best defensive first half in franchise history for Baltimore. That was the first time they have ever held the team to 0 first downs in the first half, and that's a team that won a Super Bowl entirely on defense with Trent Dilfer as a quarterback. They play Cleveland twice a year, and they've never done it before.
Probably the second best defense or third best defense, depending on your feeling, on the 85 Bears and the Broncos of 2015.
Yeah, the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah. You go Flyers. You have so many hidden loves. I don't. Special teams were even bad. Like, there's a missed field goal. There's returns for touchdown. Like,
there's the muff punt snap.
There's the muff punt. Like, I don't want to say the season is a complete loss, and I feel defeated after 60 minutes. But and doesn't it feel like kicking a field goal when you're down 40-0? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't do that.
The Doug Marrone school of punting from the opposing 35.
To their credit, they, I guess, held them to only 1 touchdown in the fourth quarter against their backups.
I mean, they stopped running their actual offense with 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. There's no victory there.
They were just
they put a rookie quarterback in just to keep Flacco healthy, and they ran Kenneth Dixon half a dozen times.
They were just trying to not get guys hurt.
They weren't even playing the backups
right
for half of it. There was like third string running backs and receivers. Max Williams had a couple touches late as their number 1 target. It's just
Justin, you okay, buddy?
Depressed.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
Depressed.
Let's
see what Pat Moran thinks about
Pat
this game.
I'm sure we'll have lots of optimism and save us.
And then we'll circle back.
What's up? Patrick Moran from the Moran Analytics Podcast here, teaming up with the guys at the 716 Sports Podcast to bring you the PAT with Pat, where each week during Bills season, I'll pop on the show with a few thoughts to recap the Bills' latest game. And I'll tell you what, after getting their asses handed to them by 44 at Baltimore, everyone under the sun is burying Nate Peterman, the anemic offensive line, and wide receiver Kelvin Benjamin, a guy who I think is a complete and utter imposter as a number 1 receiver. While making those all the headlines and all the talk topics, it takes away from another very important issue, and that's this. The Bills' defense was almost as bad. Look, we ain't expecting shit from the offense, but I think I speak for most media and fans when I say the expectation that the defense could keep them in the games is not too much to ask for. Sure, not getting a first down for an entire first half, it did the Bills' defense no favors. But you know what? You know what else does you no favors? Allowing the Ravens to drive 80 yards on 10 plays during an opening drive that was a walk in the park for them. Literally, a walk in the park. The Bills, once again, just like the preseason, had 0 pass rush. Joe Flacco was just chilling in the pocket. Secondary looked very bad. Highly paid new additions, guys like Star Lotulelei and Trent Murphy were basically invisible. Harrison Phillips had 0 impact in his debut. Don't even ask me why Vontae Davis was inactive, especially after watching Phillip Gaines get twisted like a pretzel when he allowed a 29-yard pass against him on a 2nd and 26. Gotta be freaking kidding me. I know had the Bills done something, anything on offense, maybe it boosted defense's morale, gets them going a little bit. But regardless, the Bills' D was straight up garbage in Baltimore. Now, Buffalo plays the Chargers next Sunday. That same Chargers team who put up 54 on them last year. And if this unit looks remotely the same that it did against the Ravens, history absolutely will be doomed to repeat itself in Orchard Park. All right, that's the PAT with Pat. After you're done listening to this episode of the 716 Sports Podcast and the great job these guys do every week, head over to the Moranalytics Podcast. I got a full breakdown of the Bills game, and I also have an interview with the greatest sports agent who's ever lived, the real-life inspiration for Jerry Maguire. I'm talking about Lee Steinberg. You can find us on iTunes or whatever that shit's called nowadays, or you can also go to www.moranalytics.com. Take care. Talk to you guys next week.
And thanks to Pat Moran for joining us again here, as he will every week throughout the season, and full of optimism and bubbly excitement for next week's game, as we all are. You can check out Pat on the Moranalytics Podcast, and he'll be joining us again throughout the season, giving his thoughts, which feel like echo a lot of our thoughts here this week. It just feels like a 60-minute long punch in the nads for those of us who have been waiting for football to return to our televisions, and it feels so hollow to leave a Week 1 loss like that. Bills fans are no strangers to Week 1 losses by any means, but I think that even amongst those, this feels like one of the worst Bills games in our memory, and statistically, in a lot of ways, it really was. There's nothing positive to glean from it. Your only points are a field goal, as Bill mentioned, when you're losing by 40 points. Your starting quarterback puts up a 0 passer rating. You have no passing game. You have no running game. Your defense gets walked over by Joe fucking Flacco, of all people, for a solid half. It's every single part of this team and a part of this game, down to the coaching interviews, to everything, just feels like this is a season that is completely off the rails 4 quarters in.
Did this coaching staff and this brain trust misread the market when they thought the playoff appearance would fix everything and give them time? Because they basically used up a vast majority of their goodwill yesterday and are trying to, at best, not admit to making any mistakes, and at worst are lying to the fans at this point.
Is it just yesterday, the whole offseason, neglecting the receivers, neglecting the O-line? I think it's more what it is. It's like the sheer neglect of the holes in the team. And I don't think it's just yesterday. I think it's a compilation.
Does it start with not finding suitable replacements for Wood and Incognito? Does it start with that press conference where Eric Wood has to retire because of his neck injury, to them having no replacements, to no one coming in, to trading up and selling the farm for a franchise arm? Not selling the farm, but trading up and giving up other assets for
giving up
the
a
arm.
lot of draft capital.
Yeah.
An excessive amount of draft capital that they were willing to do even more for if Bradley
Denver,
Chubb's
Denver
not
was
staying
willing,
there.
yeah.
I don't know, man. It looks really bad. If the Bills do pick first, which right now I'm looking at my quick draft update, and yes, they would be picking first if the
Season ended today.
if the draft started today.
The Browns
Lions
amazingly
would
picking
be
16th.
Steelers 17th.
How much do you think? I'm sorry to interrupt you. How
No,
much do
go
you think these new GMs keep coming in here and see a naive new owner, a naive new rich owner, in Tabergula, and just sell rebuilds to buy themselves time?
But isn't there, like, okay, I understand what you're saying with that. At what point, and I think why a GM wants to do a rebuild is because they want to build a team in their image that they believe is successful. And I, like, whether you agree with it or not, that's fine. Why do you have such a successful, relatively successful year one, given the franchise the most successful season in almost 2 decades, even though there were some breaks and some stuff that wasn't sustainable? I get that. This team probably settles into, with all things basically being equal, of most of the components back, into something of a 6-10 to 9-7 team. Like, I think that's kind of the ceiling and the floor. Why do you tear that down and give it one more shot to go chasing something that is not guaranteed, that you excessively overpay for, and then you trade up, you use up all of your increased capital immediately in the first 24 pick, whatever at pick Edmonds was, and then think that now the rebuild can begin? I mean, they did the opposite of what you want to do. They gave up stuff to get individual players rather than staying or trading down to get additional things. It doesn't make sense to me what they're trying to do. And now apparently this is going to be the year that they try this again. And I don't know, man. It seems backwards to me. It just seems backwards.
I was saying that it's a weird drop off from last year. I mean, so much of the roster's back. It's almost the entire defense with two new weapons in the Lotulelei and Trent Murphy and Edmonds.
I don't think Lotulelei is really a pass rushing weapon, though.
I changed it. I started saying that and changed it to weapons. I thought of that as I was saying it.
Yeah.
But it's just new weapons and Murphy and Lotulelei. And
But where did he come from? He came from Carolina. There's an obsession with these Carolina players.
yeah.
Lotulelei, and to be fair, I do think that they tried. They thought that they had a Eric Wood replacement. That didn't work out. When you go and grab,
Groy might not be.
Groy and Bodine.
And Bodine, yeah.
Or Bodine.
I mean, you're talking about a guy in Bodine who was jettisoned away from a terrible Cincinnati line. They could not get rid of him soon enough.
But he was an available center, right? I know that he was the worst part of a bad offensive
wrong guy,
line,
right
but
time.
It didn't matter. Like I think Cincinnati was like, yeah, sure, we'll upgrade ours. I just think they misread the room. And now, hey, maybe things turn around. We still have 15 games to go. There is zero indication that will be the case, but you got to give it a chance. We got to play these games. And then there's always the idea that next year everything comes together, everybody melds, and everything turns around. The problem is that I don't see a Sean McVay over there. I don't see a Matt Nagy over there. I don't see the brain trust that makes me think, okay, this is a team that will accept their limitations and mold the players into what they need to be. Jared Goff was a complete bust after one season, and he ended up throwing for 3,800 yards and 20-plus touchdowns last year. Like, I'm not saying this is impossible. I'm just saying the very nature of these coaches and this general manager and this ownership leads me to believe that they are not looking to be innovative and leaders of the pack. And if they're going to lose in a non-conventional way, if they're going to lose, they're going to be very safe about it.
So, theoretical question for you guys, because we can talk about the Bills game next week, but quite frankly, that's depressing. We can get to that in a second. So the Bills are 9-7 last year. They make the playoffs. And they determined that, as Bill mentioned, some parts of that are unsustainable. Some parts of that need to change. They need to rebuild this team in their image. As part of that, they move on from Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod goes to Cleveland and does whatever he's going to do this year. They trade it for Josh Allen. So now Josh Allen is theoretically, whether it's next week, whether it's next month, whether it's next season, Josh Allen is going to be the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. If Josh Allen is 10 to 15 in terms of quality in the quarterbacks of the NFL, is it worth it to have done what they did at the quarterback position?
So,
if he's anything other than game changing,
if he's 10 to 15,
let's say he's Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford's a good.
Okay, I was going to say
comparison.
Matt Ryan, but Matt
I
Stafford's
think Matt Ryan's a little
fine
better
too.
than that.
I think Matt Ryan is the ceiling and Matt Stafford's the floor of that.
Okay.
10 to 15.
That's
is
fine.
that fair? I think that they did. There's no doubt that they definitely overpaid. And I don't think there's going to be too much disputing that. However, I do think that ultimately if they find a quarterback that's in that range, it's probably worth it even with the overpay. If I'm being completely honest, because the last time the Bills had a quarterback that was consistently in that realm was probably, it was probably Drew Bledsoe that the almost playoff year.
Yeah.
And since then, I'm not sure, depending on people's interpretations of statistics.
Trent Edwards for those 4
play.
games before he got knocked the fuck out in Arizona.
Yeah. So yeah, I was gonna say yeah. So there's I still think it's worth it, but it doesn't change the fact that it was probably an overpay. I don't know, Justin, what do you think?
It was an overpay. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to you guys at all. Sorry. I was looking at my fantasy team.
How are they?
I don't know what
How
you're
are they
talking
doing?
about.
Let's talk about Justin's
He's looking at the
fantasy anyway.
Jets feed because the Jets are currently ripping off the Lions' heads and shitting down the throat of Detroit football.
Just super violent.
As of right now, it is 48-17. The goddamn New York Jets.
That would be something if this team comes out. I mean, these 5 teams are going to forever be linked together, right? The Browns, the Jets, the Bills, the Cardinals, and the Ravens are all going to be linked, just like, in the 2000 or the 1999 class, how, like people think of like the Browns and the Eagles, and then you got teams like the Bears and the Vikings. Just everybody, they all went after their guy and tried to get it, right? And some of them made it and some of them didn't.
Who would have thought that the last of those quarterbacks to play is either going to be Rosen or Mayfield, who a lot of people said were the 2 most pro-ready quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Jackson didn't start, and he didn't go in because Flacco played bad. However...
If I had said that if I gave you 1.5 of those guys would be starting week 1 and you took the under, I would have felt pretty good. So the fact that Darnold's the only one that actually started, and really, I mean, Jackson and Allen haven't gotten any real play yet. Did Rosen get in the game? I'm not even sure if Rosen got in for a cup of coffee or not. And then I know that Mayfield was out too. So yeah, it's pretty amazing, given how much conversation was being had about those guys. Let's shift gears. Let's go to week 2. I always want to. Everybody wants to call them
Superchargers.
Chargers. Everybody talks about games in San Diego. I apologize. The Los Angeles
Stadium.
Chargers. Yep. We're going back. Not an impressive performance by them overall yesterday, though I think there was certainly some parts of that felt like the defense did not hold up. Got torched by Pat Mahomes, another guy that can be linked to Buffalo's lineage. Chargers come to town. They're 0-1. They're a team that many thought would win the AFC West. Already have been kind of put in desperation mode by losing a home division game yesterday to the Chiefs. So I'm assuming that not everybody or hardly anybody really watched that Chiefs-Chargers game. It was in the late slot, and it was blacked out in Buffalo yesterday. So you only could see it if you were on the dish or on the ticket.
Watching the Red Zone channel.
Watching the Red Zone channel.
God bless.
So last year was our first introduction to the Nathan Peterman experience in Los Angeles. That didn't go so well. I forget what happened, but I'm sure that it says an L. I don't know in the scorebook there. The expectation here is that the Chargers are going to come in and dominate. Now it's a cross country flight, first road game, first home game. There's all those factors coming into play there. What do you think? What's the optimistic level? What's the pessimistic level? What do you think happens with this game?
Optimistic level is that the Chargers secondary is banged up, and maybe we can
Did
get
not play
something
well.
going. Did not play well.
Did
Got
not play well.
absolutely scorched by Tyreek Hill and DeAnthony Thomas, and the absolute laser beam that is attached to the right shoulder of Pat Mahomes.
He has the strongest arm in the NFL.
Unbelievable.
It's incredible.
How hard that guy can throw. Imagine if the Bills decided to sell out for a quarterback the year before Josh Allen. Imagine if instead of wondering about Josh Allen, we just
took Pat Mahomes.
Pat Mahomes at the space week we're drafting.
He's very strong.
Realistically, the offense could come out and get something going in the passing game. Joey Bosa is hurt and seeking an opinion from Mark Andrews, which is never a good thing because that basically means that something semi-serious has happened to Joey Bosa, which just is disastrous for the Chargers team that is a dark horse contender for winning the AFC, if you ask a lot of pundits.
I heard multiple people say that they were going to be hosting the AFC Championship game. I mean, yes, there was
not out of the question.
About that. Yep.
Realistically, the offense can get off the ground. We can score some points. They can pass the ball. And I still don't have a lot of faith in the running game unless they get a lot of delays. So eventually, to get the running game going, we have to pass the ball. No one's going to give any respect to the Bills and just put 8 guys in the box every single play. LaShawn McCoy's on the field until someone could throw the ball complete more than 10 yards down the field.
Mm-hmm.
I think they can possibly do that against the Chargers. The Chargers secondary, they lost Jason Verrett for the season. They've had some other bangs
It's the
and
Chargers.
bumps.
They're all hurt because it's the Chargers. That's what they do. They get hurt.
That's the bright side. They still allow 45 points. But
Yeah.
the bright side is they could score 15 to 20.
Yeah. Offensively, I mean, they're not a super efficient offense, are they?
The Chargers.
Yeah, like Gordon just never seems like Gordon's really good. He seems to be more of a volume guy than anything else. I love Keenan Allen. I'm kind of thinking that Phillip Rivers is starting to go on the downside. I know he's kind of in that group with like, Breeze and Brady and Eli, and he's just sort of one of the Rodgers. Even he's one of these old man quarterbacks, but it feels like he may be the first one of them to go, whether he wants to or not. But with all that said, he's still a top. He's in that 10 to 15 range, I think, right, for quarterbacks at this point.
He's a little higher for me, probably.
His ceiling is higher. He also led the league in interceptions last year. I mean, he's not afraid.
He's an old West gunslinger.
He is. He's never been
many of those guys around.
He's never
these days.
been afraid to chuck it. He threw it 51 times yesterday. Did have, fairly good results. They just couldn't keep up with the Chiefs' offense. It does seem like if you're going to have some miscommunication in the defensive backfield, that somebody like Phillip Rivers will be able to exploit it immediately.
And unfortunately, like a lot of the other teams we're going to see, especially this month, there's more than one receiving threat on the Chargers.
Right.
So just putting Trey White on Keenan Allen won't help.
No.
It might be another bloodbath next week.
And I think it's reasonable to think that as good as Trey White is, that Keenan Allen will have a little bit more success than, I don't want to call it a 3-headed monster that the Ravens were throwing out there, but
it seemed like it yesterday.
Keenan Allen individually is capable of doing a lot.
The 3-headed monster of Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle, and Max Williams at tight end.
So,
thank God we don't play the Chiefs this year. Can you imagine trying to cover Tyreek Hill with this defense? Jesus Christ.
Doesn't look like it would
Absolute
work out too
massacre.
well.
That's $16 million. You got them 3 receptions, 21 yards yesterday, but they're pumped about that.
They're fine with that. If Sammy Watkins is there,
It's a very elaborate decoy.
It was a weird game for the Chiefs. I mean, Travis Kelce didn't really do anything either. It was the Tyreek Hill show yesterday as far as the passing game was concerned. He looked awesome. Why wouldn't it be the Tyreek Hill show? He looked absolutely phenomenal. Look,
if you want a bow, you've come to the wrong podcast.
7.5 point favorites are the Chargers.
That's low.
That seems
They're trying
low.
to bait money.
Pretty generous.
It feels low. Realistically, I think the offense will play a little bit better. I think the defense will play I do think the defense will play a lot better. I don't think it will matter because I think the Chargers overall. See, I know the girls are getting fired up in the other room. They're
taking
barking
the over.
away. They're taking the over. They're saying, hit the over. This is the Sandman segment here.
I'm bringing back Chuck's Fantasy Corner for a second,
That's
guys.
right.
Start every single Charger you have.
You possibly
Pick
can.
all of them up off of free agency and start every single one.
My guess is if we're doing scores again, it can't be quite as bad, but I do think it's not going to be great. I'm going to go Chargers 33, Bills, let's say 13.
I'll take Chargers 45, Bills 21.
A shootout at
21.
at the cap.
Yeah, but it's 2 touchdowns, a field goal, and 2 safeties.
Well, 35-10 Chargers.
So lots of optimism, as you can tell here right now. We're all defeated in Bolton. Justin, you were kind of vaguely paying attention, at least to the prospects, what was going on with the Sabres here real quick before we wrap up. 10-2 victory over the Penguins prospects today. That feels good.
Yeah, I actually went to the game Friday. I got to get in that Darlene hype train. And
Darlene looks good. Was it Asplin that had the ridiculous coast-to-coast goal?
yeah,
there?
this one today.
That one today against
that was
Pittsburgh. Good. That looked promising.
A lot of promising players out there. I mean, this is definitely the deepest pool of talent the Sabres have had. And I know we've been excited about the Sabres prospects in the past, but this is clearly much better than what we've had in the past.
This is not like the Justin Bailey level guys. These Middlestat and
Nylander,
Nylander.
Asplund.
Well,
Dahlin.
is Nylander gonna
I mean, if this is
Because
the only
I'm
time I can
very
ever get to pump
curious.
his tires. He looked really good this weekend,
Did he?
honestly.
He looked
He played very well.
He looked I don't say timid, not the right word to use, but in the first period of that the game Friday, he was the Nylander we all knew, and then he kind of turned it around and looked great. And Middlestat was having a rough tournament up until today. Very frustrated in the game too. Didn't get anything going, but he showed some really nice hands in the first game. So that dude's got talent for days. He's nothing to worry about. But today he had 4 assists in the third period, and I think Nylander had
it was
2
like
goals,
7
2
third-period
assists.
goals for them today, and they ended up winning the tournament on goal differential because they just kicked the door in the third period.
In my opinion, there are 4 players out there that could push for roster spots this year. I think Middleset's already got a spot. I think
So are you counting Middleset and Dahlin in those 4?
they're already on the roster. I'm not counting them. No.
It's funny because they're considered prospects, but we all know that those guys
Oh,
are
yeah.
top 6 and top pair immediately when they come in here.
So who are those 4 guys then, Justin?
I think Lawrence Pilot has a good chance. I think Rasmussen. If Johan Larson and Zemgus coming here sleeping, I think Aspen could take that 4th line center role. He's a 3rd line player, but I mean Larson and
Build them up.
Zemgus have been just sitting here taking up space for the past 3 seasons. It's time just to do something else. Who else am I thinking about? I'm having a brain fart now. I gotta look at the roster. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Obviously, we'll edit this out in post. But
And that would be
so
the
we're
first time
just
for
the
everything.
point is that there is some reason to be optimistic, right? Like
About the Sabres?
about the Sabres. I think the Sabres do project, and I know that we've said this the last couple of years. The Sabres certainly project to be stronger than what they have been in past seasons. So
I think Will Borgen could be a long shot just based on physicality. That guy.
I've heard his name mentioned more than once too.
He is going to be a pain for players to play against in this league. He lays on the body, lays on heavy, not afraid to do it, and just very smart defensively. He's very smart. So I'd say Borgen, Pilot. I think Nylander could take a spot this year, and he looked phenomenal. But really look out for. Oh, and Olofsson is the other guy. He's pretty good at hockey.
Mhm. You like him?
Yeah. You just want him because he's the opposite hand of Eichel, and you can have both those shots on opposite wings, ripping pucks back and forth. And I think this team is lacking offensive talent. I don't think Berglund and Sabaka are locks to make the roster. I think they got to prove it. There's young talent that is going to push the older guys this season for the first time in a while.
Well, that's good because the older talent or whatever talent has been up in Buffalo, a lot of it has not necessarily
It's been
worthy
lacking.
of it.
Nylander looks bigger. He looks more muscular. He looks more confident, which is what he needs. And to get rid of the kid's 20.
No, I
Like
know.
Botterill said today.
That's why I don't understand why he is a bust already. Like,
Because his brother's in Toronto doing
Right,
crazy things.
But his brother was the better young prospect to begin with.
Yeah,
people
but
people
that's what
don't
people think.
see it like, yeah, I realize.
Fans
because
are
one
naive
was picked
creature.
3rd and one was picked 8th or whatever. So
Yeah.
whatever.
But yeah, Botterill said today like he's 20. This should be actually his first professional season, and he's going on his 2nd.
Yeah.
But I just get to be patient. He's got so much skill.
I
You can
still
see it.
have tons of hope in Alex Nylander. I think there's something there. He
Yeah,
just
I'm
has
not
to.
ready to give up on him yet.
He just has to, like you said, with him coming out timid in the game on Friday. He's just got to get comfortable to the speed and the level of competition at the NHL level.
Right.
He's clearly got something, and I think that we're going to see it sooner than later.
Yeah. But there's clearly young guys knocking at the door, and there's CJ Smith that still he is the best playing Rochester last year. And he's gonna get a look, a serious look. It's gonna be a really fun training camp in preseason. There's gonna be a lot of fighting going on for roster spots.
Yeah. Training camp starts Thursday.
And Matt Molson should be at training camp. Because he's still a roster player
Oh my
on
God,
That's
loan.
right.
he is. I
Bringing him in
completely-
from the Ontario Reign
He has
in Ontario, California.
Yeah. So he still legitimately has a shot to make the roster, but if not, there's plans for him to go back
If
to that.
Matt Molson makes the roster, we have reached a critical bottom.
Wow. Yeah, let's hope that Matt Molson is back on the Reign, or the Barracudas, or the Seagulls, or
The Calgary Hitmen,
Roadrunners, or any of the other great.
the Akron Rubber Ducks,
Wait, what are the Tucson?
Tucson Roadrunners.
They are the Roadrunners. Okay, nailed it. Kobe. So watch prospects and get ready for hockey training camp. That's what our conclusion is for the Bill season so far.
My weekly Bills column goes up tomorrow. Yep. I will be including, for the duration of the season, a future Bills prospect of the week, where you can talk about one of the top 16 draft picks in the upcoming NFL draft that the Bills will definitely be selecting.
You got Nick Bosa or Ed Oliver.
I actually did an Enkeel carry this week
Oh, okay.
because I watched a lot of the Arizona State Michigan State
That's
game
fine.
Saturday night.
Yeah, neat. So seriously, watch college football this year because
You watch a lot of it.
One of the really good
Take
players
some
is gonna
games
be
and
playing.
watch them during the Bills games.
Yeah.
You'll be a happier person.
And we're going to do a quick over-under, and we're going to try and keep track of this. I have an over-under this week for the Bills game that neither one of you are even aware of. But my over-under for this week is LaShawn McCoy, 18.5 touches. You going over, you going under. Justin.
Under.
That's combined, receiving and rushing,
Under.
18.5 touches.
Under.
You're going to go under.
Yep.
That bad, huh?
They're not going to
They're
hold
going to
on
try
to the
and
ball.
establish the run.
I think you see 10 to 15 McCoy, 10 Ivory, and 5 to 10 Murphy.
We'll see if it is that big of a split. I think that they're actually going to go over this week. I do think that they're going to try and push McCoy because he had so few touches this past week. But we shall see. Anything else on this magnificent Monday in the Queen City?
No. We've been asked and will be back with UB Hockey this season as the voices of them.
Nice.
Their home opener is Saturday the 22nd at the Northtown Center. We will not be there because our good man, Just 10, is getting married that day. So we will be there with them starting the 23rd.
Yeah, you'll see if I'll be there.
Unaware of this.
Yeah, I hope you're there and I'm at your wedding. That'd be funny.
Enjoy the dinner.
I will.
I think buffet. We doing stations? What are we doing?
Stations.
Nice.
Solid.
You classy MFer.
So we actually had a minimum. Since we're gonna get into, it, we had a minimum price that we had to hit.
Oh,
We
okay.
were well
I gotcha.
below it,
Oh, okay.
so we actually had to go up a level on the bar,
Mm-hmm.
add an hour. So you guys gonna get pretty toasty. And
Thank
then
God.
at around 9 o'clock, 9:30ish, there's gonna be a chicken wing bar that makes his way out to the floor.
That's delightful.
I was initially mad when I found out that the UB game I'll be calling that Sunday is at 3:30 in the afternoon.
You'll be fine.
I'm very glad that I get to leave in the middle of that Bills-Vikings game because that's
Horns
going to
up.
be an absolute bloodbath.
Let's go back to your wedding and what we're eating there. What's our? Is it draft beer, canned beer, bottle beer? What are we talking about?
It's bottles.
Okay,
I believe it's bottles.
domestics, foreigns.
So there's Heineken in the mix. Heineken and Amstel.
Look out!
It's pretty solid for a
Heineken
wedding
and
bar,
Amstel.
though.
So it's blue light. Heineken and Amstel.
All right.
I want to say it's Molson.
And what's the highest level liquor we're looking at here? Patron or
We have good. We don't have the top notch. I don't think we have Patron. We have like Captain and Sky.
all
Vodka,
right? Sounds good.
That's
Seagram's.
good enough for me.
Well, don't
Bill,
forget,
Bill and I will be sitting at a table
Bacardi.
together, live tweeting Justin's
Jeff and
wedding.
I will be live tweeting the wedding on the Twitter feed, so that should be fun. I think we'll
Periscope
be
it.
contributing. I'm sure nothing bad will happen, and nothing will be
Totally
exposed,
fine.
so it'll be fine. I hope you're ready to dance. That's all I'm gonna say.
Bring your stretch pants.
Oh, I'm gonna boogie.
Show all the girls,
Bring my
all the
stretch
boys,
pants.
all you got.
I made sure I got bigger pants at this
Leave
wedding.
nothing to the imagination.
He didn't. The last time I saw Justin, there was nothing left of the imagination when he was dancing at a wedding.
Quote Dave Matthews in Central Park: "Leave nothing but your footprints." It should be a good time. Anyway, that's it. We did it. We talked about this godforsaken game for an hour. You're welcome, America. We will be back next week, and for for whatever we get on Sunday. I
It
don't
might be
even know.
15,
I don't even know how to sell
15 more of these, but goddamn, we're gonna give them to you.
this. What if they win by 10? Just I don't know.
Then we'll be sitting here confused and talking about the positives and what we can do in Minnesota.
Oh,
I mean,
my God. It's
remember that
incredible.
game a couple years ago? I know
Stupid as
where they beat Green Bay for no goddamn reason.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
Jordy Nelson
December.
dropped a 98-yard walk-in touchdown.
Yeah.
They're gonna have a couple of those this season. They're not gonna make sense, but I mean, there's a reason that only 2 teams are going 0-16. Eventually, something breaks the right way.
What game last year did we go into the old Fan Duty studio and just talk nothing of demise of this team? Like, oh, they might not win another game this year. And then
It was early.
I want to say, was it a Panthers
Was it,
game?
yeah, you guys were not happy about the Panthers game. I remember that.
Were you not happy?
I don't think I was there for the game. I think that was the game.
I was there
that
for the podcast, but I hadn't watched the game.
I think my son and I went to this first Sabres exhibition game that season last
You were
year.
pretty sure you were there. I don't know. It was
it
one of
was,
the
it
games.
was me, you, Steve, and Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I called in or
It was one of Steve's
You're right.
first shows.
Yeah. So, anywho, Anthony Lynn, not that great of a coach. Let's beat him. We will be back.
The
next
Anthony
week.
Lynn revenge game.
Thank you for listening. Twitter, Facebook, 716 Sports Podcast,
Instagram,
Google,
Snapchat, Friendster, MySpace,
Yep. Lycos,
Google Plus.
Ask Jeeves, Dogpile.
Dogpile, the official search engine of the Cleveland Browns, undefeated following their Week 1 tie.
You've got the podcast. Goodbye.